Pokerogue is an online browser game that has revolutionized Pokemon roguelike games. We have seen how Pokemon can work with the roguelike genre with Pokemon Emerald Rogue, but Pokerogue is actually a lot more different. The goal is to win 200 battles in a row comprising of different worlds, Pokemon, trainers, and boss fights. After each battle, players are able to choose an item to use, varying from health item to healing items. Essentially, you just battle. That's it. This will be the story of how I conquered Pokerogue. Before we begin, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel as only 2% of my viewers are subscribed. It would be greatly appreciated if you hit that red button. Initially, players have the option to start with any of the 27 starter Pokemon from the 9 generations. Players are given 10 points to spend and each starter is worth 3, meaning I can start with 3 Pokemon. I will be able to unlock more Pokemon to start with based on the Pokemon I catch in my runs as well as Pokemon I hatch from the Egg Gacha. More on that later. I begin with Fuecoco, Bulbasaur, and Mudkip. I did do a little research, so these Pokemon were chosen with reason. Fuecoco for Torch Song special attack boost because stat changes remain between battles unless a new world is reached or I enter a trainer battle. Bulbasaur for Sleep Powder and Leech Seed stalling, and Mudkip to complete the Fire Water Grass core. The first 10 levels were pretty easy. Fuecoco was able to 1v1 most of them and win without losing too much health. The rival fight with Ivy at level 8 was simple as Fuecoco almost beat her Tepig and Pidove single-handedly, but Mudkip did come in to clean things up. Upon beating her, I got the EXP share and EXP charm, which helps my Pokemon reach the level cap quicker. For context, a world lasts for 10 levels and for every 10 levels the level cap increases. I get past the boss Patrat to reach the new Plains world and breeze past the next 9 levels. I was beginning to get this false sense of victory because to me, up until this point the battles were fairly easy and I know my ability to adapt and play the more difficult battles was strong due to my ample experience in hardcore Nuzlocke and other Pokemon challenges. I may not be anywhere near the best, nor do I want to be, but I trusted in my ability to beat the game quickly. At level 20, I faced a boss Lopunny, a Pokemon with a lot greater stats than my first stage status. Fuecoco did its best to get rid of a single health bar, but the damage output from Lopunny was too much. Bulbasaur was already down from the prior battles, and Mudkip simply did not have the tools to beat this rabbit. Safe to say, I was humbled. I gave it some thought and realized that maybe I overestimated my ability. The hardcore Nuzlocke I attempt are of vanilla games and a lot of the strats I employ are not my own. In order to beat this game, I needed to develop my own individual skill because these fights were not the same as anyone else, so there was no one I could follow. This was for me a wake-up slap. I had done a couple runs off screen and more research on the late game to learn how I can beat it and came up with the following. While I determined Fuecoco and Bulbasaur are locks for the team, instead of Mudkip, I chose Poplio for the eventual fairy typing and to satisfy the Fire Water Grass core. I decided to primarily use only Fuecoco during the beginning stages of the run so I can evolve it quicker to face the level 25 rival fight, a common run ender. I also took note of the Pokemon that are crucial to catch in order to win, which I will discuss when I get to each Pokemon. The first 10 levels went by with no issue once again. Ivy was taken down with the whole team contributing and the level 10 boss Venonat also being burned by Fuecoco. I made it to level 20 again where I last lost to Lopunny, but now, instead of a boss fight, it was a gym battle against Chili. He led with Darumaka while I led with Fuecoco. Fuecoco managed to beat it and evolve mid-battle into Crocalor. Crocalor did as much damage as it could to the Pansear before switching into Poplio and beating it with an Aqua Jet, making it my furthest run yet. At level 25, Ivy showed up once again but was decimated by Crocalor Incinerate after Incinerate, taking down her 3 Pokemon. Bulbasaur also evolved into a Ivysaur at stage 26, and at stage 27, I caught a Cottony, who will later become another sleep powder threat that was a backup option in case Venusaur wasn't holding up anymore. At stage 29, Poplio evolves into a Brionne. The stage 30 boss Whimsicott was taken down by Crocalor, and at stage 37, I get a Sunstone so I could evolve my own Cottony into my very own Whimsicott. Stage 42 saw me catch a Midnight form Lycanroc to cover my growing fire weakness. Shortly after, my Ivysaur evolves into a Venusaur, and at stage 45, Crocalor evolves into a Skeledirge while Brionne evolves into a Primarina. The overall power boost from this team gave me a lot of confidence for this run, maybe too much one could say. At stage 50, I had a second gym fight against Katie this time, and with her team of bugs, she was no match for Skeledirge. At stage 55, I encountered Ivy once again, and well, 4 words. Skeledirge used Torch Song. At stage 80, I fought Erica, but we all know how that went. Instead, let's talk about the reward for defeating gym leaders like herself. Egg vouchers. With the use of egg vouchers in the egg gacha, I can roll a bunch of eggs to hatch into cool Pokemon, including really strong legendary Pokemon. While I cannot use them in an existing run, I can select them for future runs to potentially give me a better start.
It's me, you didn't forget about me again, did you? You should be proud of how far you made it, congrats, but it looks like it's the end of your journey. You've awoken something in me I never knew was there. It seems like all I do now is train. I hardly even eat or sleep now. I just train my Pokemon all day, getting stronger every time. In fact, I hardly recognize myself. And now, I finally reached peak performance. I don't think anyone could beat me now. And you know what? It's all because of you. I don't know whether to thank you or hate you. Prepare yourself.
That was ominous, and a bit nerve-wracking, but I managed to win the fight. I even added an Ampharos to complete a full team.
Damn, he must think shit sweet right here. That's my hood, shorty. You bugging. You must not know that I'm thugging. Oh shit.
That's when I entered stage 110, Gym Leader Milo. Let me tell you guys about the idea of association. Milo is the first gym fight in Pokemon Sword and Shield, those games being extremely easy and Milo being stuck at the easiest section of the already very easy game. No one looks at Milo and believes that they are in danger. Well, that was a mistake. At this point of time, I had also taken a back seat because I was breezing through the game, so I was essentially just clicking away with minimal attention. That was another mistake. It all culminated into this Milo fight. Skeledirge entered the battle with low health and low power points for Torch Song. While it defeated both Flapple and Cacturn, it ultimately went down to a quicker Sarina which used Aqua Step, which Skeledirge could have lived as it was not stabbed. The sun was up, decreasing its power, but due to the low health it entered the battle in, it went down. After a few back and forths, it was Venusaur vs Terra Blossom. After a few exchange of attacks, I nearly could not take it down as Venusaur falters. It was so close, and that was it. The fight was lost there. The battle dragged on for a bit more, but deep down I already knew I had lost. However, this time I wasn't the least bit phased. I knew these were down to my own mistakes, and if I remedied them, I could have a real shot at beating the game. With that being said, here are the lessons I learned. I had to stop being overconfident, pay more attention to the gameplay, take the fights more seriously, and most importantly, to not feel burnt out after losing despite coming a long way. It also helped that I had an X factor for my next run. You're probably wondering, what am I talking about? Well, remember what I said about the egg gacha and how I can start with legendary Pokemon? This run, alongside Fuecoco, I will be joined by one of the treasures of ruin, Wo-Chien. I had considered sticking with Fuecoco, Bulbasaur, and Mudkip, but I simply couldn't refuse the opportunity of coupling the overpowered starter with a legendary Pokemon. And so, run number 6 or 7 began. I do not know what count this is, I lost count. I arrived at the stage 8 rival fight where Fuecoco defeated both her Pokemon. At stage 10, there was a boss Rattata which was easily dispatched. I was able to add an Abra to the team at stage 17, which I was super excited about because Alakazam is an extremely quick Pokemon with amazing special attack output. Pure Psychic was a great typing and it matched what I wanted with the team I was building. Skeledirge would be the sweeper, Wo-Chien would be the tank, and Alakazam would be the glass cannon that I could rely on if I really needed to outspeed something. At stage 20, I had a gym fight against Silen, and unfortunately for him, my Fuecoco was the perfect answer for his grass types and even ended up evolving into Crocodile at the end of the fight. Crocodile single-handedly defeated the stage 25 rival fight, and at stage 28, Abra evolved into a Kadabra. I easily overpowered the stage 30 Esper, but I had encountered an annoying cause for concern. At stage 35, I found myself face to face with a Team Plasma Grunt. While not immediately challenging in the run's early stages, it would snowball into a grave obstacle. In pokerogue, evil teams will attempt to stop you once every run. I would have to face grunts along the way, and at the following stages 115 and 165, I would have to face the leader, which in my case would be Getsis. While the threat wasn't apparent at this point of the run, it would pose one of the most aggravating fights I have ever fought. It was evident that I had to assemble my team quickly and learn to use the team as soon as possible. I immediately welcomed another team member to the team, as after an easy stage 40 boss fight, at stage 43 I added a Drillbur. Excadrill was an amazing Pokemon to add due to its stab, earthquake, sword stance, and great defensive typing, which allowed me to be more flexible with pivoting. At that end, Drillbur was an invaluable addition. At stage 46, Crocodile evolved into Skeledirge, and at stage 47, I added a Magneton to the team because I felt I needed to cover for Water and Flying types more, and add more defense to cover for Alakazam and Skeledirge. Drillbur also evolved into an Excadrill at this stage. At stage 49, I was able to acquire the map item, which allowed me to choose between predetermined destinations so I could have an easier run of battles or head to a destination to encounter certain Pokemon I could want. Lieutenant Search showed up at stage 50 but was no match for Torch Song Skeledirge. At stage 51, I was presented the Linking Cord, which is the item required for trade evolutions. I used it to evolve Kadabra into an Alakazam. At stage 55, Skeledirge once again showed why it was king by annihilating Ivy's team in the rival fight with Torch Song. From there, things were pretty uneventful. From stage 55 all the way to stage 95, only 3 things stood out. At stage 76, I got the Thunderstone to evolve a Magneton into a Magnezone, and at stage 80, instead of a Skeledirge Torch Song sweep, it was an Excadrill Sword Stance and Earthquake sweep. Riveting stuff. I did manage to get the lake area as a possible destination, which I selected because my team is violently countered by fire types and I need a water type to offset that. At stage 82, I caught myself a Gyarados to round out the team. Gyarados brought Dragon Dance, Intimidate, and his water typing to the team, and from here, the team would never change again. Ivy at the stage 95 rival fight was difficult as per usual, but I think this fight was important to my progression moving forward, as this was the first time utilizing all my team members to navigate a fight. At the end of it, I understood how my team worked far better than before. Fast forward to stage 115, I would have my first fight with Ghetsis, and my goodness, was it excruciatingly difficult. I led with Volchen as he led with Runerigus. Predicting the switch to a fire or bug type, I switched into Skeledirge. As you saw there, Gyarados was dead, so it was essentially a 5v6. I was predicting for him to switch into Caracosta, so I clicked Shadow Ball instead of Torch Song. This meant it was an easy 2-hit KO to knock down the Caracosta with Shadow Ball. He immediately replied with his boss Hydreigon with the ability Parental Bond, which allows Hydreigon to attack twice. The second attack hits with 25% of the power, so in effect it's equivalent to a 25% boost to all attacks. I don't have a fairy type by the way, so I was pretty much screwed. Skeledirge was able to survive the first turn and got off a Blaze boosted Torch Song, which took off Hydreigon's first health bar. I then switched into Wo-Chen and clicked the signature move Ruination, which always removes half of the current health of a Pokemon. Ghetsis switched into Volcarona, so it immediately went down into half HP. I decided to switch into Alakazam so it could hopefully live and outspeed the Volcarona. I got the best case scenario where Volcarona misses its Hurricane, which Alakazam takes advantage of by outspeeding and taking Volcarona down with Psychic. The boss Hydreigon comes back out, and since Alakazam only has Psychic moves, it cannot hit the thing. I decided to let Alakazam go down because since Alakazam was holding a Reviver Seed, an item that returns half health to a faint Pokemon, it took 2 Outrages to take down Alakazam, which ultimately confused the Hydreigon. It wasn't much, but it allowed Wo-Chen to be on the field 1 turn longer to neutralize the Hydreigon Citrus Berry healing. Wo-Chen still ultimately went down, but I felt I was in control of this fight. I switched into Magnezone and hit Flash Cannon into the switching in Runerigus. I switched into Skeledirge to let it faint to get a free switch into Excadrill. I only had 2 Pokemon left, but I had a dream that I would win this fight, a dream that I would beat this game. Excadrill manages to tank a few hits from Runerigus, takes it down, sets up a few stored stances against the Galvantula, and proceeds to sweep the rest of his team. Truth be told, I was very close to losing. 2 Pokemon left against a boss trainer fight at this stage of the game can be very dangerous. But despite that fact, I won, and had so much fun doing it. The synergy within the team was very apparent, and I was confident that this was the run. Stage 145 was next up, and I had to fight Ivy once again. Honestly speaking, it wasn't that bad. Yes, that custom shiny Rayquaza freaked me out. Holy shit, what the hell is that? That is not shiny, man. Oh god. Nevertheless, I set up an Alakazam sweep to hand me the victory. Ghetsis returned for his revenge at stage 165, and this would be his final chance to stop me. He did make a good first impression having 2 Paradox Pokemon and a Legendary, but for some reason he was a lot more easier this time around. Only half my team went down, and considering the tools he had, that was pretty good. At stage 170, I had a disturbingly tough time against Berg, but I managed to pull through. I encountered a boss Gardevoir at stage 180 which I was contemplating replacing Alakazam with because of the extra fairy typing Gardevoir provided, but opted to keep Alakazam due to its sheer speed. Now it's time for the Elite 4 in pokerogue. From stages 181 to 190, the player will be put through a gauntlet of trainer battles from the Elite 4 and Champion. The Elite 4 and Champion will be from the same league, and in my case, I rolled the Blueberry Academy League, which was a total gift. Dragon Dance Gyarados was able to stomp on Crispin, Torch Song Skeletorch incinerated Amaris, and Swords Dance Excadrill dealt with Lacey. It was super satisfying to see each mode of my team coming alive in each battle. Drayton was a lot more difficult as he was a Dragon type specialist and I had no Fairy or Ice types on the team. However, the team did manage to pull through and I made my way to Kieran, the champion. I'ma be honest with you, this was a cakewalk.
I can see what they're doing, what he's doing. I can see it, I feel it. He's cooking.
What a relief. Now it's time for the final stretch of the game in the unknown location. In this area, I can only encounter Paradox Pokemon with a rival fight and a final boss fight with Eternity. At stage 195, Ivy confronts me one final time. I lead with Gyarados as she leads with Terra Rillaboom. To counter Gyarados, Ivy will switch into Octozolt, which I read perfectly and preemptively switch into Skeledirge. She switches into Staraptor, but I have the momentum advantage on her and take down her boss Staraptor. She brings in Dragapult and in response I bring in Wuqian. I take some damage switching in and click Ruination. She switched into her illegal Mega Rayquaza on the incoming Ruination, which gets rid of one section of its health bar. This is so not looking promising. Wuqian goes down without dealing any more damage as I bring in Gyarados. Gyarados is able to take down another section of Rayquaza's health, but it is critically weakened in the process. I send out Magnezone as Rayquaza is locked into Outrage and paralyzed with Thunder Wave. This prompts her to switch into Magmortar. I switch into Gyarados to absorb the ground move and fire off a waterfall into the switching in Arctozolt. Predicting the electric move, I switch into Excadrill. Excadrill absorbs the Bulk Beak and uses Rock Slide. She switches into her Magmortar, which is fine by me as my move is still super effective. Magmortar's speed went up, so I was afraid of Excadrill taking damage. I decide to switch into Gyarados, but she switched into her boss Rillaboom on the same turn. That threw me off a bit, but nevertheless, I survive a drum beating and attack with Ice Fang to deal a third of its health. I decide to psych Gyarados, but weirdly, she switches into Arctozolt, which takes more Ice Fang damage from Gyarados. I switch into Excadrill, predicting an electric move, but she clicks Blizzard instead, which ends up missing, giving me the same net result. She switches into Rillaboom, which is brought down to a third of its health by Excadrill. I sack Excadrill and bring in Skeledirge. Skeledirge fires off a Torch Song on the incoming Dragapult. Recognizing Dragapult with outspeed, I switch into Magnezone, tank 2-hit thanks to Citrus Berry healing, and take down Dragapult with Flash Cannon. Magmortar comes out and clicks Earth Power, but I absorb it by switching into Gyarados. Knowing she would switch into Arctozolt, I click Waterfall, doing good damage, and stayed in to attack with another Waterfall as I knew I was faster and knocked out Arctozolt. Her illegal Rayquaza comes out, and I knew if I were to win this fight, I need to play the odds. I knew I would be faster than Rayquaza because it was paralyzed. That means by clicking Ice Fang, not only would Rayquaza be subject to paralysis, it would also be subject to flinching. And luck would have it that Rayquaza flinched, allowing Gyarados to pack up the Rayquaza. Gyarados would go down to Rillaboom, but Skeledirge would clean up and beat both her weakened Magmortar and Rillaboom. Ivy was defeated once and for all. I would heal up with the Sacred Ash item, which helped me revive and heal all of my fainted Pokemon, and head to my final test to beat Pokerogue, the boss Eternatus. Eternatus has two phases. The first phase is its regular form. This phase is fairly easy, having 4 bars of health, but once it gets to its last bar of health, it transitions into the second phase, Eternamax Eternatus. The Pokemon with the greatest base stat total in official Pokemon with a score of 1125. It will then heal up to full health with 5 bars of health instead. I do get the advantage of using 2 Pokemon against 1 once I reach this stage. I lead with Excadrill and Magnezone. I switch Excadrill out by bringing Skeledirge in while the Eternatus attacks Magnezone with super effective Flamethrower. Magnezone lives thanks to Sturdy and lands a Thunder Wave, crippling its speed and potentially rendering it unable to move. Skeledirge thus goes down to a Dynamax Cannon while Magnezone goes down to a Flamethrower, but with the help of Gyarados, I successfully took out 1 bar of health. That is very unfortunate. I bring out Excadrill again and together with Gyarados take down another bar of health from Eternatus. Excadrill does go down to a super effective flamethrower. I bring in Wo Chen and something unfortunate happens. Eternatus has this ability called Mini Black Hole where it slowly steals items from my Pokemon on the field. So while I set up Dragon Dance on Gyarados and use Ruination from my Wo Chen to attack Eternatus, taking out a third bar of health, Mini Black Hole stole a Lumberry from Gyarados and healed its own paralysis. It also took out Wo Chen with a flamethrower. Things were looking pretty bleak, but that all changed when Alakazam hit the field. Its Psychic did way more damage than any other prior attack, taking out Eternatus' 4th health bar, leaving it on its last bar of health. Eternatus attacked Gyarados with Cross Poison, failing to take it out. Gyarados, out of nowhere for the first time this run, gets the Ice Fang freeze and immobilizes the Eternatus. Alakazam is able to lay the finishing touches and takes out the Eternatus once and for all. With that, I have defeated pokerogue. It was a tough journey with a lot of setbacks, but I managed to pull through and beat the game. If you guys enjoyed that, make sure to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. And as always, see ya. Bye.